With that being said, I'm not trying to argue with a disgruntled woman about, hey, you want your child to be back at this and this time? Cool, no problem. And then I still have to bridge the gap of trying to make what best lost time up with a small child.
How old is she?
Now she's 15.
Okay.
Doing these things, you feel a lot better, but you feel way behind because life has moved on. You're playing catch up. When I learned that, okay, let's not catch up. Let's just move forward. Don't worry about trying to recreate what was.
I like that. Let's not catch up. Let's just move forward.
Yeah, you know, what will be is going to be. There's no like.
This is a story of courage, of resilience, of ultimate vulnerability. This is a story of someone not giving up and reinventing himself when all the odds were against him. Carlos made some mistakes when he was younger, mistakes that landed him in county jail and then graduating to prison. A lot of people give up because the odds are stacked against them when they get out. But listen to this and you'll be encouraged by his inspiring accomplishments. And he still has a long way to go. If you're not already supporting the show, please click the link in the show notes. We appreciate you, we love you, and we're glad you're back. Welcome to Manhood Matters. Let's get to it.
In the living room, finds his voice. 4 souls gathered, making a choice. Speak of life's great, no sugar to cope. From a black man's lens, each word a keynote. Mental storms, physical strife, hustling hard, the pulse of life, race love. And the entrepreneurs climb real tall echoes, defying time. Experts and friends.
Welcome to the pod, brother.
It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming.
It's good to have you, and I appreciate you taking the time and making the time to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I want us to start from the beginning, but before we go to the beginning, I want us to kind of talk about where you are today and then reverse engineer this whole thing.
Right.
And ask some questions about how you got here.
Okay.
How are you doing today? Where are you in life? Quick Reader's Digest version.
Well, first and foremost, you know, I have my health, so I can't even complain, you know, even the slightest bit. You know, many aren't proud to wake up, walk, and, you know, do the basics.
Yeah.
Currently, you know, headspace been a little up and down ever since, you know, I took this new job at Google. And working for Google now, it's basically, I'm a data center facilities technician. I basically handle the legwork that you don't see day to day, because pretty much we know every day we click on, you know, to go on the computer and everything works flawless, with like a 99 to 100% uptime.
Yeah.
My job is if all hell broke loose and the generators, power was supposed to leave the grid and we had no power. I'm way 1,000 steps ahead of power management. So whenever there's an anomaly present, power-wise, there are transfer switches and redundancies in place to say, hey, something's going on. Big generators, wake up. Hey, guy that works on the generators, you know, let's make sure we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
So therefore, you know, it happens so seamlessly that the data centers can still run efficiently regardless of, you know, what's taking place outside of them.
That's a big deal, brother.
So,
I mean, you know,
it was a long deal to do.
I would imagine that there's a lot of people trying to get to a position with a company as omnipresent and as big as this company is. I want us to start from the beginning because that's today, right? That's today. And this story is really about resilience. It's about bouncing back. It's about winning against the odds.
I grew up in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, to be exact. With family coming from the islands, you know, we started pretty much from scratch like anybody else. The Caribbean household, you know, routinely is just strict. So it's kind of a like, you only get love on condition, if that makes sense, or you just die. You know, it's kind of a situation where it's like, all right,
yeah.
Hey, you know what? You do what you're supposed to do. You survive and live another day. You don't? Well, you know.
You might not.
So
immigrant grind.
Right. So, you know, between that, having an accent, you know, trying to integrate, you know, into society, I wasn't really the cool kid or the popular kid, I guess. I mean, I was kind of just the outcast. Like, I already had enough trouble, you know, functioning at home, you know, dealing with a dad that's only there to really discipline you per se. You know, it's not like the standard American dad where, you know, there's football games, baseball games, you know, all the things. It was more like, well, we're doing what we can and stay out my way. So
yeah,
I did what I could. And without good guidance, I should say, things kind of, when I say, I'll use a phrase where I was raised by wolves per se.
Okay.
I had male figures that we weren't even in the same household, the older kids.
Mm-hmm.
So, dealing with the older kids, you make a few reckless decisions, and a couple of reckless decisions, I pretty much paid for in the way of the law.
Why don't you talk to me about those decisions and what led you down that path?
Honestly, I was like any other kid, wanted a car. And then because I wanted a car, my mom gave my first car, but, there are still stipulations. And now as an adult, I get it because, your mom doesn't want you to, get into no wrecks and have, high insurance premiums or lose your life, driving,
Right.
But still, my greatest thing was like I was hell-bent. I wanted a car. Mm-hmm. And now, I build cars, race cars, as a hobby. I just wanted a car, but not really.
You say now you do that, or you did that then?
Did it when I would say in my late 20s. I had a passion for cars even till now. I still keep a nice street car, to go to the drag strip with and hang out with.
Sure.
I just didn't have the dad to really say, "Hey, son, let me teach you about building cars. Let me teach you about doing your first oil change, anything of the above."
Yeah.
So when I got with the kids that did have cars, they had imports, and I was like, man, I can't wait to, be able to be turned loose and, do my own thing and enjoy mine.
Right.
And, like I said, my parents tried to keep me on a very tight leash. And, most kids, it's either you sink or you swim. Got with kids that, would be, I guess, deemed hot boys. They stole cars.
Okay.
Or, they broke into cars and, stole parts. And, I don't know. I was just the weirdo that was like, well, let me give this a try. I mean, it seems like the cool thing to do because you're trying to fit in with, the rest of everybody else.
Yeah.
And no pass going to jail. Yep. No pass going to jail.
So how old were you when that happened?
I was 18 years old.
18 years old. So you stole a car. You got caught.
No, that wasn't the sad part. I actually stole the car, and the car was already stripped, and we were actually dumping the car off, towing another car. So,
Okay.
as a young knucklehead, we have one car, towing a stolen car down the street, to just go drop off.
Gotcha.
And being new to not knowing anything, I was just like, came around the corner, police literally was just sitting right there, posted up,
wait on you,
eating a donut or something. I don't damn know. All I know, they saw us and literally, rushed us and went to jail.
Okay. So you got convicted.
So that pretty much was the first time offender type of deal, I guess.
Okay.
So you get the slap on the wrist, the probation, of course you got all the help from your parents, when you got home, it was like, you idiot, what'd you do,
Sure.
But do it towards the crib, and there were a little bit more curse words than, needed.
Yeah.
Probation, like I say, was pretty much entrapment. It's like Monopoly. You're going to bounce around. If you don't have enough money to pay them, you go to jail. You don't have a valid driver's license, go to jail. Those who could walk the straight and narrow in probation, my hat goes off to them. I probably was just not the system knew not this Negro. No, we just go.
So you're saying you didn't do it again. You ended up going to jail because of probation violation? Is that what it is? Or
I did all the things again.
You did. Okay, got you. So you went back to it.
So many things.
Okay.
And then once you're already in the system, then you're still rebelliously trying to live on your own, do many things. Mm-hmm. You're stuck in the choice then of, okay, well, I got to go pay probation and pay restitution. I got to, pay bills, to stay afloat. So, if you're crashing on your sister's couch or, you're with your cousin or whatever, you still didn't have your own place, but, you were just existing, being a young knucklehead. All I cared about was, going to local street races, hanging out and wanting to perfect driving fast, have a name that, meant something. Legend still has it. I was probably still one of the better people because I got rid of the clique or crews and was just, a one-man wrecking crew, from start to finish. Probation pretty much forced me to go back into doing illegal things of stealing cars.
That's an interesting
the recidivism was real, yeah. I literally had a probation officer tell me one time after I got out from a probation violation, look, I don't care about you. I don't care what you do. We just need our money. Or I'm going to violate probation and send you right back to jail. And I was just like, well, damn. And,
that's interesting.
You get out and you're trying to find a job to, pay probation. And it's like, we don't care what the judge ordered if they gave you 6 months or a year to find a job. We know at the end of the month, we need our supervision money, our restitution money, or you're going right back. So,
so I didn't know that about probation. I didn't know that you had like to pay restitution money every single month.
Yeah, so, there was some nasty people out there that straight up was just, you sink or you swim. And of course, I was like, well, I value my freedom. I'm going to just go evolve and start stealing some more cars, even on a grander scale, I should say.
Okay.
And of course, you would have thought I would have. And some people say, well, why didn't this idiot learn his lesson? Or, hey,
sure.
Why did it, he's a pretty sucky car if you getting caught. But my circumstances behind being caught were not physically stealing the car. It was aftermath type, circumstances. Cars that had tracking devices were tracked back to a chop shop I was running.
Gotcha.
Things like that. Not like actively in the middle of red-handed.
Yeah, so your chop shop is raided, and then here you are.
The first instance was very simple. I had a little chop shop and was doing my own thing, taking mostly imports. And, I had two little loose friends that I still, spoke to on a social level, still race cars with or whatever. And I remember, he tried to do his own thing and got hemmed up, but, he was still my friend. So due to duty, I was like, okay, well, I'm making the most money, feeling invincible, at this point, 21 years old, no one could tell you anything. I actually went and stole a car for him, while he's locked up to give his mom the money so he can, get a lawyer. And in the process, I got jammed up because that car had a tracking device on it.
Okay.
Then, if that wasn't bad enough, I made the news and, people are still looking at me till today like, Negro, how did you make the news? Like, not just one news station, like several. And I was like, the news was bored, they didn't have much activities. They had the daily drug bust, the things of the things. And then, of course, my ass, hey.
Here goes Carlos on the news again.
Lauderhill man, freaking, just operating chop shops. And
Florida man.
Yeah, yeah. So operating chop shops and freaking, of course, family pretty much disowned me. Like, dude, I have an older sister I respect very much. She was just like, Negro, boy, you barbecue. Matter of fact, we don't even have the same names. So I don't even have to worry about knowing you. Kick rocks, do what you do. My mom, dad were just like, you ain't gonna learn. Then I quickly learned how to utilize the U.S. laws, as I actually beat that case upon an illegal search and seizure. Not a lot of people knew that.
Wow.
It was actually swept under the rug because I actually had a neighbor a few warehouse space down visually see the police take my keys off of me and go into the building. You can't go into a dwelling without probable cause or a search warrant present. So,
well, they had probable cause.
Yeah, but you still see. Here's the thing. Here's the thing I learned. Why I even
tell us.
the circumstance was, though you have a low jack hit or beacon saying, okay, there's a stolen car in this area, it doesn't point to that specific building.
Gotcha.
So unless like the law was, unless you could look from outside and see what you seek, you have to procure a signed warrant to go into the dwelling.
Gotcha.
Right? If the dwelling is there.
Gotcha.
So they did all of the illegal ramifications to pretty much, keep me in jail long enough to not bond out so they can try to procure a search warrant, get it signed off on and all the things. At the time, this was the public defender. My public defender was just like, look, your goose is cooked. So is there anything you have useful? And I said, look, not only was I not Mirandized, in the glory of, hey, we finally caught the chop shop, man, the officers literally took the keys off of me and went into my, building.
Right.
And she's like, can you have proof of that? I said, yeah, that's easy. The crackhead down the street, he lives in this building and rents this warehouse bay. So, we actually got him deposition from him.
Okay. And
that was a deposition that stood, and I think it was all like 25 charges of, operation of a chop shop, grand theft auto, possession of a firearm, all types of, oddness was, swept on the drug, and I was put on probation for that.
Wow.
On top of probation, I was already.
Yeah.
So, and that was, circumstance one. You know, there's two other circumstances after the fact, and you know,
I want to get to the one that got you locked up for good, but I want to ask.
nail in the coffin.
Yeah, the nail in the coffin. What's the one that actually put you in, not in jail, but in prison?
Okay,
But before I get to that, I want to ask a question, right? This is a Manhood Matters podcast, and we call it that for a reason, because we want to talk about things from our lens as men. Now, even though I have women on the show and we often seek and appreciate their perspective, but if I'm just talking to a guy like yourself, I want to know how you felt in those moments where you felt you had no one, when you were, as in your own words, disowned. How did that impact you? And would you being surrounded by something other than what you received, would that have changed the course of your life?
Okay, to answer part one of the question, it's a feeling of defeat per se, like, because to think back on it now, it's more of just like, well, you know, when your parents tell you, hey, if you get locked up, don't call us. It's just like, okay. I mean, kind of took your words as verbatim. So, you know, it kind of just was like, you just became defeated. You just, okay, you know, you knew the ramifications of what you were doing and you just got to wear it, you know.
Yeah, you know the consequences,
Yeah, so
and you went and did it anyway, so.
But out of pretty much survival, because it's not like my parents or my sister or, you know, any of my friends are going to just give me money to pay my probation and have me go get a good job, you know, as I have now. No, it was kind of like, well, you just do what you know to do and, you know, survive. If I had more involvement, and I wouldn't say just from my dad, you know, uncles, you know, my grandpas were long dead long before, you know, those were two elders I respected that literally had more say so than, you know, God themselves. So were they still around? Yeah, because they probably would have been like, okay, young buck, you want to do this? Cool. You know, we'll go it together. If I had friends' dads per se that were into motorsports and they were like, hey, you know what? We see your dad's busy and don't really rock with you like that. So, you know, we'll teach you. And, you know, now it's a lot different from them, because now that I done went through hell and high water, you now see the many self-help programs and outreach programs for, you know, young knuckleheads and young men, women, and whoever to mentor up to and things of the sort. Back then, it was kind of just like, well, we're just going to go do this time, sit on this bunk, and wait till they turn you loose.
Yeah.
So I think that's where things could have been different. Even with my career now, if I would have met a person that was like, hey, look, you got hemmed up, come work for me. I'll teach y'all what you need to know. You'll make a little bit of money. And like I said, experience and knowledge of knowing things is priceless. Like the things I actually know, most people are just like, this dude's like brilliant. But
Yeah.
it came with a lot of hardships to forge the person I am presently.
Do you think there were some things that you needed? I mean, I know we all grew up with, you know, our own demons and our own trauma. Do you think there were things that kind of led you down the path? Because you still know right from wrong.
Right.
But still, you know what I mean? Like, you're 18 years old and there's this thing that, you know, me and my wife, we talk about this all the time. I'm like, our brain's not even fully developed until we're 25. She's like, nah, hell no. You know right from wrong pretty early on. But do you think there were some things that you felt, some holes that you were plugging to feel whatever you were seeking, knowing that this is wrong, I'm going to do it anyway?
Well, circumstance is simple. Simple survival. I mean, if you're in my shoes and you know, okay, your sister has her life and career that she's doing, cool. Your mom and dad have their life and doing what they're doing, cool. And you could try to apply for a job. You could try to do this and that and, you know, make the best of it. But no one's really giving you the grace because you already done fucked up and sunk the ship already. So, you know, it's like, okay, I need to get this money to eat, to go over here, to, you know, drive my car, you know, and I still had my thing for cars. So, you know, still had a nice little street car. And the provisions of having the nice things that I wanted came from that. So, you know, if it's a roof over my head, if it's gas, if it's clothes, if it's being able to travel, well, it's not like someone took your hand and said, hey, let me go put you in a corporate position. Or, hey, you know, let me go teach you a skill.
Understood.
And, you know, you always hear people say, oh, but you have a choice. Do I really? Like, do I really have a choice? Like, we're going to go with the you have a choice card? Oh, you need to apply yourself. Listen, at that point in time, my probation officer said, look, TikTok motherfucker, the card, you know, the clock's running.
Yeah.
And at that point where your brain's not developed, yes, you know right from wrong, but your ass go do the right thing and still get jammed up and be in damn jail in violation of probation. So you just chose what you chose.
There is a point to be made to that. Yes, you always have a choice. And I think if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is, yeah, they are choices, but if I only know those 2 or 3 choices, I want to choose from only what I know.
Right.
And what you know is not exactly what you need it to be.
Right.
What you need it for to be on the straight and narrow.
If when I was in the county jail and they said, hey, we got mentorship programs, or we got diesel mechanic courses, or we got marine propulsion available to you, or let's learn Scadia, or let's learn CompTIA Plus or something, and they made it mandatory for you to do, and we're going to put you into working wherever the bloody hell it is.
Some kind of apprenticeship program to get you going.
Then a lot more people would be successful. But if it's, all right, well, it did 6 months, they finally let you out. Where's our money?
It's funny because they call it correction facility or rehabilitation, but that's not what it is. It's just you get locked up and then you get out.
That's just it. Niggas just being there fighting their cases, doing, trying to touch back the earth. That's just the bare brunt of it. Mm-hmm. No, you haven't gone to prison, so it's like, okay, why go to prison when I could just skate through the shady gray area? Now, I think when we touched on everything happens for a reason, I think it was just a matter of, okay, well, either you're going to be killed out in the street, so the good Lord said, okay, we're going to give you one last merry-go-round, and then we gonna sit your ass down.
Yeah.
We gonna sit your ass down.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that ordeal, what led to it, and how it went down.
Got out. Probation officer said, look, we need our coins. And as sad as it is, I said, okay, let me go try working at a Starbucks, let me try a mom and pop's shop or something, And, family was already gone to hell, Parents were getting divorced, freaking sister been long gone, had her life going. So,
right.
Can't be just like, hey, sis, holla at your boy. They're the 2 different, career trajectories. So there was nowhere I fit in. So I sat and I evolutionized and said, okay, I need to do things that net me more money with less risk. So that means taking a higher end vehicle or a group of higher end vehicles versus, your typical, Civic or your Integra or something of the sort. You need to take something that you crush one. It's $10,000, $15,000. You could literally have cushioning to kind of like breathe a little bit versus you're out every night, trying to, got some good connections. Some people still respected me enough to say, okay, all right, I'll give you a shot. And I got it down to a science at that point in time where it's like, okay, all I got to do is go take that car. I'm not going to try to parse the parts or sell them to a whole bunch of people. Too much effort. Mm-hmm. I need to find the person that's a full connect that I can say, okay, I'm just going to strip the car, load the U-Haul up with all the damn parts, and drop them off to this person's facility over here. Mm-hmm. And they're going to take it all. And then before I get on the highway, I'll have a whatever form of payment literally, in my account by the time I hit the highway. Mm-hmm. With that being said, things were better.
Gotcha.
Still dangerous, but better.
Yeah.
So I went, took a particular car, and, it had a tracking device on it, brought it back to my shop. And all the time when things would go wrong, it's like I had a feeling like the whole day went to ass, like nothing went right, the day. So I kid you not, I'm driving, and I'm not even half a mile down the street. Police pulled me over. And of course, the same officer that I done beat twice, in the realm of running chop shops for a long time.
Same dude.
Of course, he pulls me out of the car, frickin', hems me up, and I'm just like, well, I fought that case for 27 months because they could not physically put me at the scene of the crime. And, because of where I was, it wasn't in my name, it was just kind of like, how are we going to convict the fucker? We know it's him, but how are we going to actually get him? And me doing case law, having a high-powered attorney, we were just like, we're just going to buy our time. You guys will get tired of seeing me, you'll let me out eventually. And I realized the system was, and even my family did that because they even came to court at one point in time, was ultra corrupt when the case is literally like the state said, look, we kind of got to turn loose because we done ran out of all all of what we possibly can have to make sense. Pulling over a person physically, driving while black, Brown versus State is saying, hey, unless you have probable cause to pull over this vehicle, how would you know that he's the owner of the shop over here or that he's going to go do anything illegal? Doesn't matter the fact that you and this person may have a history. What did you pull him over for?
Were you not driving a stolen car?
No.
Oh, okay. I got that confused.
So the painted picture behind it all was young man, several time chop shop runner was driving a stolen vehicle. So it already had my parents like idiot. But then when the actual physical facts came out, when my parents came to court and actually saw the physical deposition that was there, they're just like, wait a minute. That's different from what the fuck they portrayed in the news. How was he in a stolen car when he was in his own physical vehicle? You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So
after that took place and it was, hey, defendant looks suspicious, and I pulled him over on a hunch. We literally wanted the officer to say that, on record so that we could move to a motion to suppress, and we're going to suppress my black ass from even being there that day because mere suspicion alone isn't enough to, just be pulling people over. Then I learned a valuable lesson. They went to go have a sidebar up there. And oddly, great hearing, I could hear the sidebar. And I could see the look on, my attorney's face because he's already pissed off. And he said, well, the judge basically said, I don't want to be responsible for letting him back out on the street. So I'm going to deny your motion to suppress. And you guys can appeal it. It doesn't have to be my problem anymore.
Okay.
Guess we're going to prison. And, that was just my thought process of, okay, what's available? Mm-hmm. Oh, they're offering you 5 years. And I'm just like, I already had damn near 3 years in Zion County Jail anyway. So it's kind of like, all right, well, go there, behave myself, not get into no shit. I'll be out in less than a year, with gain time and all the things. I just made my time useful from that point forward.
So then you do go to jail. Prison.
Right.
Okay, so you go to prison. How long?
20 months,
Okay, and you had already done
27
months in county jail.
Yeah, so off of the whole 60 months, you're getting so much gain time. Well, not so much, but you're getting a good substantial amount of gain time the moment you hit the pound anyway. So,
So it's counting towards your time.
Right.
And then you end up with another 20 months, almost 2 years in prison.
And which flew by because,
It flew by, you said?
Yeah. Because it sounds fucked up to say, but would I have known what I knew? I'd have been like, yo, hurry up and sign me up so I can get the hell on.
Yeah,
and go
crazy,
be
really.
doing other things because we're in the county jail. It's not like you can go outside and go, hang out. It's not like you can go to work. At least you can't go to the gym. You can't go, It's a city inside of a city is my best.
County jail is?
Prison.
Oh, prison is a city inside of a
best
city.
analogy to describe it. And people ask me all the time, like, oh, it's like the movies. Yes and no. Yes, people still can get killed, stabbed, fights, Yes, there's homosexual activity. Like, yes, but no, because at the end of the day, when you filter it out and you govern yourself in a particular manner, it's not like you're going to be like, oh, look at these two guys over here hunching in the bushes. Like, it's just not, particularly like that, You're in general population. You work your custody down, of course you're waking up early in the morning to go do pretty much breakfast. And then, do you do head counts, everything is systematically controlled movement. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the downtime you have, either you read a book or you're watching TV or you're working out or, or you're back over here smoking a cigarette with whoever, illegally, or, you're in gang activity and would you click over here or something, Like
you're saying that you're able to exist outside of what you're not concerned with.
Yeah, because my main focus, I had my Mortars Fortress magazines, I had my little snacks I needed to eat, and I'm reading my Bible. I learned how to play chess very well. So because I know how to play chess well, that's my own world in itself. So it's kind of just like, okay, I'm going to go find someone who's a badass at chess and I'm going to learn and I'm going to beat that person. So, I played with many old guys. I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of chess matches.
Yeah.
I passed time. I read my books, when my custody dropped, I went to a different prison,
What does that mean, my custody dropped?
Because when you, based upon the nature of the crime you have, you'll start off either medium custody.
Oh, I see.
If you have like a violent charge, you'll have, be max custody. So,
Gotcha.
If it's just, like I said, I stole some cars. It's not like
that's what they mean, like maximum facility and shit like that. Okay, so you went from medium to low?
to minimum security. So,
Okay,
you know,
gotcha.
and then also time is a constraint. So it's like, okay, well, he has under 2 years and, you know, his charge ain't violence. So we're going to put him in a minimum security camp, you know.
Gotcha.
So I immediately left from hell to, you know, a place that was easy peasy weasy, you know. It wasn't as controlling. Like literally every day I went on the road, whether it was to go mow the highway, you know, weed eat the highway, or go pick up foolishness at the beach, you know, or the state park or something. So if you were intelligent and had some sort of skill, like a city inside of a city, they would find a place for you to, you know, to do something. They had a private gym there. So, you know, we're over there working out, you know, getting our soul on, doing all the things. So I was already working out, able to play chess, you know, call home every blue moon, you know, family sent me what little they did have. And I just met a friend, still talk to him today. And he, you know, he handed me a Caterpillar book, and I'm like, And, you know, that's, you know, big heavy equipment manufacturer or whatever.
Okay.
So from the time I got that book, I was just like, because I was already into motorsports, I understood the inner workings of, you know, how this and this worked. And I'm like, you know what? I think I want to, you know, be a diesel engine mechanic. You know, I'm going to go for it. So went to work release in West Palm, and, you know, was able to work. I think that's a conspiracy, because you're pretty much, they're like, oh, you work to save your money so you could reintegrate into society when you get out. The amount of taxes and BS that you take to also pay the work release from your minimum wage job. You're fortunate if you even have $1,000 when you got out. You're fortunate.
Okay.
The greatest battle was wanting to achieve, but you have a record.
You have a record. So how do you overcome some of these obstacles? Because obviously you ain't going back to the old shit.
and that was the powerful fight at hand. Like I told myself, you know, I made a promise to my grandma. My grandma was like, "Oh, it's gonna kill me if you go back," and I'm like, She's the voice of reason upon most of my decisions currently. So a lot of it was just applying myself, to be honest. The power struggle was real, because there were days I'm just like, listen, just 2 cars and I'll be back on my feet. But then I was just like, nah, that's doing, you know, taking risk that you don't need. Because this time they gonna give you 25 years for sure. So
Yeah.
you know, I started a regular job. I went to go do a job that doesn't suit my thought processes.
Okay.
Not conceited, not, you know, better than anybody else. Just me being behind this just ain't not it. It just doesn't. Mm-hmm. So I think I was trying to sell health insurance. And like 2 days of training, on the 3rd day, I was just like, you know, for these $15, I think I've about had it. Lord. So I had a good buddy of mine who's like a big brother to me. He worked at a boat dealer. And he's like, well, look, they're not that far off from cars, you know. Come give it a shot. I mean, I can only get you in at $14 an hour. Plus, you know, I had a couple street affiliates that, you know, were already there. And I'm like,
Friends.
It'd be like, oh, you know.
Old time.
So, you know, we weren't doing anything illegal. We
Right.
just were working on really
on
expensive pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
So I quickly took to it and was like, okay, this I could rock with.
Okay.
And I learned, I soaked up a lot. I evolved, like, you know, the power struggle, also trying to reintegrate with your daughter yet, you know, you haven't seen since, you know, you've seen her, but the gap of not being in her life was there. So you're trying to, you know, be a good dad.
Talk to me about some of those challenges, not just as a father, but reintegration with family, with society. Talk to me about the psychological challenges and the mental barriers that you personally faced during those times when you're just kind of getting back on your feet.
You're limited on chances. People already view you as the black sheep already, so you're limited on chances. So you have to walk more than the straight and narrow. You kind of got to like tiptoe on the straight and narrow, you know, to make life. Because I wasn't in my daughter's life, I was just happy to, you know, be able to be around her, you know, and spend what time I, you know, could. You know, even though, you know, years later, you know, it's just, you see how much a person can brainwash a child into not liking you no matter what you do. You evolve, and as a man, you just say, okay, well, guess what? I'm just going to go pay these child sports and do the best I can. You know, if the child likes me, great. If the child don't like me, okay, you know. I'm just not built to sit here trying to, And even today, the feminists, you need to try harder. That's a little girl. You need to, do all you can do.
Who says that to you?
In the women realm, per se.
Okay.
You got to do all these things. And I'm looking at people like, so you want me to go back to prison trying to fight a battle that's not even set up for me to win?
Why is that the mindset? What do you mean by... I'm sure that's not the advice.
Well, let me show you a movement.
Okay.
If I want to see my daughter from her mom, she still lives with her mom, and I still need the approval to see her or spend time with her.
Gotcha.
If I want more time or I want to make some changes or whatever it may be, do you know that you could get locked up for domestic violence?
Well, I know you could, but what do you mean? Like, what does that have to do with domestic violence?
So, in South Florida, mere hearsay alone is enough to lock people up. Now,
okay, you're saying...
There are so many... Okay, the cards are this. At the end of the day, I don't want specific headaches to affect what little life I already got that I'm trying to rebuild.
Okay.
So, with that being said, I'm not trying to argue with a disgruntled woman about, hey, you want your child to be back at this and this time? Cool, no problem. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
I have work to manage. And then I still have to bridge the gap of trying to make what best lost time up with small child.
How old is she?
Now she's 15.
Okay.
So, doing these things, you feel a lot better, but you feel way behind because it's like, well, dang, life has moved on to the point where, you're playing catch up. When I learned that, okay, let's not catch up. Let's just move forward. Don't worry about trying to recreate what was.
That's interesting. That's a great mindset.
Just move forward.
I like that. Let's not catch up. Let's just move forward.
Yeah, what will be is going to be. There's no better thing to it because I've spent a long time dwelling on the past, growing gray hairs, pretty much grow anxiety trying to, why and how could I, change this or make up for lost time? You probably can't. You just do what you can.
Yeah.
So now, I'm in a better space because after navigating through the loopholes of employment and going to companies that would pay me more, I then ended up 600 miles from home taking a job that was paying me, what would have been the cap for a diesel mechanic salary. So I was making like $35 an hour, like literally 14, 18, 22.
As a mechanic, 35?
Yeah, and then $35 an hour.
And those people didn't care that much about your record, right?
No, because they were just looking at, hey,
do you have the skills or not?
This guy's badass and he has all his certifications pertinent to what we need him to do.
Okay.
I had to crawl and grovel to pretty much get a piece of what, is the pie or whatever, piece of my steak of what, I wanted because it wasn't going to be given to me. I still made sure I had a roof over my head and I was able to, keep pushing forward.
What do you find was the most challenging ordeal you've had to face in your adult life?
Man, every day is a challenge. Now that I have little kids, I've made my bed now after laying it because if this person don't like me, because we're not together, they're going to use children as a chess piece or a pawn. So I have to further learn how to be a parent, but also navigate, trying to co-parent, with a different personality over here. Being raised by wolves, it's not like someone said, hey, I got a good parenting strategy and idea while you're incarcerated, make sure when you get out, you take the time to build yourself up for at least 5-6 years before you go trying to go find a mate or whatever. No, you're still a human being, so you're going to go work, do the things you need to do and still gravitate towards who like me, I like them. And that's that, right?
You like them, they like you, boom, baby.
So, that's the shorthanded part of it.
Right.
Now it's just being a dad because I love my children to death, but it tears me to pieces because it's like, dude, why is this a negotiation? Like, I don't even care if you speak to me. Just let me get my jit and let us go have a grand old time and they'll be back in a couple of days.
So you're talking about the challenge that you've faced or you continue to face,
right?
Is dealing with the women that you've had children by.
I just wish some people would govern themselves more with rationale than feelings. People could see I'm not no raggedy daddy, if that makes sense. I want to actively be in my kids' lives.
You're saying the women that you're...
Right.
Okay.
But don't try to put me under no leash and try to dictate the narrative of, how the time is allocated to my kids. Because if I say, hey, let me get my kids, they shouldn't be more complex than what is, if that makes sense.
It does, but they're not here to speak from their perspective to see what to explain what the what the concern is and why they do it the way they do it. We do know that there are a lot of mothers who will weaponize the fact that they have this child against the dad. We know that's the case.
All right.
But I guess what I'm saying is there a reason that they're giving you? Are these people trying to be with you?
No, I shouldn't think not. No.
It's just giving you a hard time. Just
I think at this point it's just, hey, things didn't work out, so I'll find any old little thing to throw a monkey wrench in your plan. For example, I don't know who you have my child around. Well, rule of thumb and logic and rationale for me is if my child is with me and they're around a person, that person obviously respects me enough to govern themselves accordingly. So I should be able to navigate, me spending time with my child. Now, you may have a concern and want to do the whole meet and greet and all the things and kiss baby, shake hands and whatever. Cool, whatever. But to make a person's life difficult in the process is uncalled for.
Yeah.
Then result back to like driving yourself insane and saying, yo, I'm better off just literally placing my own self on child support and then going through the courts and don't have to deal with the unfiltered madness.
Right.
Because when people know these things, like you said, they weaponize it and use it as leverage. Your past is always going to be a factor. It don't matter if you make $100,000 a year or not, based upon the nature of the crime of which you did your time and paid for. I've been through a lot, and now as I've evolved to be in a fresh start type of space and want to not only do way better for my children, have a last name worth a damn, I truly just want to know, okay, they're small. I made the sacrifice I need to make right now so that in the near future, guess what? They can have the things that I wouldn't say that I wasn't granted because I already burnt and buried any stigma I had with my parents because I learned quickly that our parents raised us the best they could and could only bring us as far as they knew. Daddy ain't loved me, oh well. Hey, we'll be drinking buddies now because I get it. Prison molded my patience a lot. I took the leap of faith, which is another notch in the strangeness of the story, and I went to college. Most people are just like, you went to college? Yeah, I went to college at age 36.
That's what's up, man.
Got my associate's degree. I got a year left to go get my bachelor's in renewable energy and sustainable power engineering.
Awesome.
So, people are trying to bridge the gap like, how you got that much time on your hands? I don't have the time, no. But,
right. You have the will.
So, my sister and her husband have been like my greatest peers, I should say, because I see how far they've come. I see not the essential, what they got, but more what they got together collectively, as a unit. So I sit here and I say, okay, I want to be blessed like him because he has a great wife. He got it together. And they do things together. Of course, I know there's always going to be ups and downs, left and rights, but they do things together to get to where they have gotten to now.
Yeah.
Now, my sister was always like smarter than, I don't know, like it looked like the Lord was like, all right, you girl, we just going to give you the good looks and the intelligence. Athleticism, whatever. But, we'll give you a little bit. You could play basketball, you could.
You're tall.
Right. So, when I was out here doing all types of felonious things, her head was always in the book on a swivel and looking at the globalized sanction of how to become better.
Yeah.
She also gave him a first start. When I was fresh out of prison, she said, look, I don't got nothing to give, but here's $1,000. Go buy a little piece of car or something. That's all I can give. I got all my stuff going on right now. And I'll forever be indebted because she took the chance to say, all right. Throughout her success and looking at how her and her husband have developed, I'm like, well, shit, I ain't going to be a nigga that don't got a damn degree or, at least got something together. So one day I was just sitting there, just went and said, okay, how hard could it be? Let me just go try. I mean, worst case, I have a mental breakdown and, but I ain't going to give up.
That's right.
So every day. I signed up for online school, and every day I did a little, worked, took care of my kids, did a little. It then became systematic where I autonomously just know I have to do school when I'm done with work. Mm-hmm. Like I don't close eye till discussion is done. The class work is done.
So a lot of people in your shoes, they, as you well know, they use their past as
leverage to not want to apply their damn selves.
It's now a compass, right? They just kind of look at the past and they say, this is going to guide me towards everything else. And your story is different because what I'm seeing, and that's the point of this conversation, is you have a past that should have been shackles, but instead it's been pushing you. So what is that little X factor? You have a job at Google. I would imagine they get 1 million applications a day. And then you were chosen.
Look, listen, right? I done put, from the time I got my associates, like 237 applications.
Wow, see? That's what I'm saying. Like there are people who put in like, man, I applied 5 jobs, I didn't get one, and they're giving up.
That's it. It's...
You know the exact number, 237.
It's not how it goes. My sister helped me along the way and basically said, okay, your resume's ass, so we're just going to have to recreate it.
Right.
And then I had 2 other friends help me. And then she was like, dummy, listen, I don't got time for you right now. Let's use ChatGPT. And I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Yeah. So let me, ChatGPT it. And I learned quickly that you could then just not use one resume. You could tailor the resumes to the jobs that you're applying for, right? Which I was just like, I thought you were supposed to have a resume that showed where you work, right?
Yeah, you want to tailor it exactly to where you're applying, correct?
And I'm so backwards because there are people who build resumes for people to, procure jobs. Mm-hmm. And when I learned that, okay, dude, you're skilled, but it don't pop. It don't say, hey, get this guy.
Look at me, right?
So then going into, like I said, with Google, going into the tech omnipresent company, their hiring process ain't for the week because...
Yeah. I imagine it's a lot of interviews, I
had to go through 5 interviews.
Yeah.
You have role-related knowledge, you have general knowledge. They got to make sure you're googly enough. So like a personality assessment per se.
Sure.
Then they have you do an interview with someone who's already an employee. So, they could test you to make sure evidently the role that you're supposed to right.
Show somebody, yeah.
Then you reach the fit call, and I've been passed up for a fit call. I guess I was just too black. I don't know. I wasn't bubbly enough.
You weren't the right fit. No.
So when I did that fit call, now the guy had prior military experience, and I did a lot of contract work also as well for the military. So he was like, okay, I see fire and desire in this young man's eyes. All right, and next thing I know, I thought I didn't get the job. They called me up one day and said, hey, look, they want to go with you and, XYZ. And I was just like...
What was that moment feeling like?
I thought I was going to have a stroke, like literally.
That's awesome, brother. That's beautiful.
I was like deaf. I'm like...
And how did your record not stop you from getting a job like that? Because that's the question I think a lot of people have.
No. My record hindered me probably from every job known to man, to be honest.
Sure. Like Kroger won't fucking hire you. Just like you, it's hard to...
It got to a point, I was even overqualified for certain jobs because of, okay, though I have the record... I also had an exemplary record of, okay, this guy's pretty sharp at what he does.
Sure.
So then even so, it don't make you pop because a resume in itself, like I've learned now, your resume needs to show what you've done, not the jobs that you've held. The jobs that you've held is one thing.
Sure.
But if you're going for a role over here, people want to know when they're looking at your stuff, okay. And now with the with the pro-advancement of AI, the AI is screening all the applications prior to
sure.
being submitted to the recruiter. Right.
And it never makes it to a human, right?
So I said, okay, there ain't no way I can't use this degree. And my sister taught me about manifestations and the vision boards, and I was just always like, man, bump them little stupid ass vision boards, like it's fugazi. But the more I would listen to Dr. Miles Monroe, and that's also one of the catalysts that kept me out of handcuffs, because I listened to Les Brown's, Eric Thomas.
Love Les Brown.
Right. And
I love E.T. too. Yeah.
and Dr. Miles Monroe and Jim Ron.
Man, you speak my language, brother.
Les Brown was like, dude, he had a segment where he was going door to door selling refrigerators or something of the sort, some sort of TVs. And he said, yo, no means next opportunity. And it sunk in. And I said, okay,
right.
this ain't my time yet. Cool, next opportunity. And I'm going to get all these no's. But if I manifest it, I'm going to go get a job. I did not want to leave working for myself, but sometimes you just got to know when it's time to get out. Like if you're over here, the juice is worth more than the squeeze. You get to a point where it's like, dude, I'm burnt out. Like, let me go punch these people's clock. But the clock I want to punch is going to be a great one because it's going to, every day is going to feel like a playground to me because in my wheelhouse now of things I like to do. I learned from one of my other friends, hey, speed also dictates your success. You can't just be lollygagging around and waiting for something to come to you.
Right.
Sometimes you have to be overly obsessed and proactive and say, okay, I'm going after this. And even if it's a no, guess what? I'm still 10 steps ahead of the game because I quickly found out what went wrong and I now know how to navigate on, to the next thing or the next opportunity. And it still just boils down to effort because you don't got to be the most handsomest person or the prettiest girl. You don't have to be Albert Einstein. You don't have to be came with a silver spoon. But if you just apply yourself, sometimes just being an authentic person at times will get you indoors that, some people that are upper echelon still couldn't even get into.
I have one last question for you. It's really a two-part question.
Okay.
How would you encourage the young men or women who is listening to you right now who might be sitting in a prison to not only get out and carry their head up high and not worry about this record as a badge of shame, but rather something that can just catapult them into having great momentum and moving forward, putting fuel in their tank? And the second thing is, what advice would you give them in terms of what they need to do mentally to prepare for the next steps?
If I had an opportunity to go to the prisons, halfway houses, and things of the sort, and tell them a story in the sense of allowing people to see me like, okay, this isn't some fictitious creature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Allowing people to see, okay, guess what? He got tattoos. He got dreadlocks. But we know he evidently must be somebody if he's here. He must be some sort of businessman or someone pretty important. Now, we walked the same shoes. But I also got some newer shoes to put on as well because I made sure to simply apply myself. And being able to bridge the gap and answer questions, whether it's a emotional thought point question, a person says they feel undefeated. I would know what to tell them to, help encourage them or better yet, a lot of my hardships, my children are going to love because for probably everything that you guys ever have done, I've already experienced it. And I have some sort of great story to tell, to bridge the gap, to offer comfort and, bring you into the right direction, even when things have gone to shit. I know when things have gone to shit, I know how to get out of shit too. A lot of it is patience. And you just have to thank the Lord every day. Hey, you get another 24 hours to have a shot to do something. Because at the end of the day, your life is your only movie. And no one's going to hit pause in the middle of your movie because they didn't like that segment and say, okay, well, we think your movie should have went this direction. No. So because you only have one life, you literally have to write your movie. If it's a long movie, you got to write your movie the best way you know how, because at the end of the day, you don't want to lay on your deathbed or lay up at night. And just like Les Brown once said, you don't want your past dreams to be haunting you in your sleep of what you didn't do.
I want to thank you for being vulnerable, for coming here and talking about your story, because I truly believe that if the person is kind of going through certain things that you might have already encountered in your life, I think it's one of those stories that has resilience, that has enthusiasm, and it keeps going. And, it shows a lot of courage. So I do want to thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And sharing that. Now, the tradition that we have is anyone who comes on the podcast, we have you read our outro notes,
Oh, okay.
doing an impression of someone. So you can pick someone.
I think that's
We've
the
done
toughest part of this whole show because
Yes,
like,
it is.
my brain's just like, I don't even know who that.
So you
Who
gotta
the hell
pick.
to reenact.
You gotta pick somebody, brother. That's how we end the show.
I'll try a Bujo.
All right, I just sent you the notes. Whenever you're ready, bro.
So here we go do. Whenever you come in, make sure you support my people them. I may tell you who my people them be. When I know say we know have to log on and make sure say we show the support for the show, you know, because when we need many a people to make a movement, and many who know out there make sure say the thing like up. So like up the man page. It's an Apple podcast, so you have to like up that too. If I YouTube, you have to like up that too. We just want to thank everybody for listening to my story, and we're gonna catch you next week. We're gonna share more conversation surrounding the real issues we deal with every day. Just remember, say, you is a man, me is a man, and we not use no good round here, so. But just know, say, as a man, everything matter. We out.